So let's start off with the meeting President Bola Tinubu had yesterday. Very interesting rounds of meeting the president has been having, almost like he's paying attention to opposition figures or people who have disagreed with his policies. And, you know, a lot of people will give anything to be a fly on the wall inside that meeting. But he had, aside the meeting with the suspended governor of Rivers State, Governor Fubara, he also had a meeting with Pastor Tunde Bakare. And naturally, that got a lot of people talking. Quite curious meeting. What kind of conversation did they have, particularly because just a few weeks ago, Pastor Tunde Bakare had given a review of his, of this administration, and he didn't mince words. He went all out. He broke the issues down. So one could only imagine the kind of conversation that they had at that meeting. But what is good about this is that Pastor Tunde Bakare had a conversation with the media after that meeting. So let's take a listen to what he said.
See a nation that walks in my lifetime. And those things I've discussed with Mr. President. They're not hidden things, but I've learned that when you discuss with the person in charge, you leave it with him to do whatsoever he wills with what you have suggested. So I've had a private conversation with Mr. President, and I'm glad that he received me well. And I trust that God will help our nation. I like to see a peaceful nation. I like to see Nigerians being their brother's keeper. I like to see good collaboration between the best of the North and the best of the South to steer Nigeria in the right direction. I like to see predictable progress in our nation. We have danced around some subjects for too long a time. It's time to take concrete action to ensure that the masses of our country do not live in abject poverty.
So to put this in proper context, in April, he had said Nigeria was heading towards tyranny under President Bola Tinubu, and he made specific mention of the state of emergency in Rivers State, saying it was a theater of the absurd, saying the National Assembly had become a mere rubber stamp under President Tinubu. So one can only imagine that these things came up when they had a meeting. But guys, seeing that meeting yesterday, your thoughts?
It just to show, I like the statesmanship, the elder statesmanship in that sense. And this is what relationship should really be all about. I am a big believer in this kind of relationship. If I'm your friend and you're in government, I will be the most critical of you. Because if you misbehave, you're going to disgrace me, disgrace yourself, disgrace our family, disgrace everything that is connected to all of us, including our village and our state. I'm not a fan of sycophancy. It doesn't work for me. So I like the fact that one of the things I respect Pastor Tunde Bakare is that he will speak his mind, no matter what ox is God. From his own enlightened point of view, he spoke his mind based on what he understood and made his submission. Whether you hate him or like him, it's a different kettle of fish. And also, the president to now receive him to show that, okay, I know we may be seeing things differently, but we're not enemies in that sense. I think that's the way this should be played. It's just a conflict of ideas. And I like what he said. He said, look, as a statesman, I've done my part. I've been open about what he's doing. Now I've spoken to him privately about what he can do better, but the responsibility of action rests on him. And I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, very correct, Jeffrey. You put it rightly. And we know Pastor Tunde Bakare for speaking his mind, both from the pulpit and also at the trenches. Don't forget also that he was an active participant. In fact, he was together with the current president, the trenches during the protest against fuel subsidy in 2012 under the Goodluck Jonathan administration. So he's an active political voice and a clerical voice, for want of better description, at this point in time. So what will be the outcome of this meeting with Mr. President? That's what's critical. this open door policy must result in gains for the Nigerian people. It's a democracy, so elder statesmen should come through for Nigerians at this critical point in time, as Pastor Bakare is doing, and put the administration to task on its reforms. Where are the gains? It's a private conversation, but more importantly, we need the public outcomes of the conversations like this, and the impact on the people subsequently.
Okay, maybe we'll go to, I'm trying to catch the next one about some things happening in Enugu State. A lot has happened, some development in Enugu and all of that, but we see that there's a move by the governor to outlaw money rituals. So for those of you who are not Nigerians, this is called juju. I don't know how to explain it. So the ritual, in that sense, criminal bulletproof charms, illicit spiritualist. How do you decide who is an illicit spiritualist, illegal spiritualist? It's interesting. So by what, we are journalists. It's simple on how to know we're journalists, but when it comes to the ecclesiastical, if you will, the spiritual sense of things, the extraterrestrial, I'm trying to look for the grammar that will fit this. How do you decide who is a real spiritualist? Because we must respect people's religion. There is not only Christians and Muslims that are in Nigeria, there's African traditional religion. They also have a right protected in Nigeria's constitution. It's a right they have, and they must be allowed to practice what they practice. But perhaps we have a lot of shenanigans in that space. But I'm curious to know how the state will be able to say, you're not an original spiritualist. By what he asked the Kairi.
I can explain.
Okay, explain.
First off, I'm not a part of this bill. I'm just reporting what I know. So the goal of this bill, right, is to ensure that those who practice these forms of, what did you call it again, ecclesiastical and all of that, that they are registered and regulated. So there's going to be like a registry. So I don't know how it will work. I don't know if they need a certificate.
You can't regulate religion.
Well, at least you register religious houses.
That's
so you can also register those the priests and all of that. So the goal is, by the way, the legislation is called Maintenance of Internal Security, Vigilance, and Order. Okay. So it outlaws illegal use of occupation of forest and property for criminal activities. It's quite wide-ranging. But the thorny issue is the registration and regulation of herbalists, native doctors, SNYE, those who do criminal bulletproof, money rituals, okite, charms, and the rest. It's going to be a very interesting one, particularly because we've seen events like this. But as you said, is this something you can regulate?
I would really, I don't know, because I would really like to see I'm going to make sure after the show I get a call, I get to reach them, and I want to see what the bill in its entirety looks like, because I want to see how you're going to criminalize. Because when you go to court, you're going to put up evidence. So is it your word against? Is by what parameter, by what prerequisite are you going to decipher that somebody is real or not real in terms of that? Yes, registration is fine. Everybody should be accountable. We should know we have 200 native doctors in Enugu. But how to decide which one is...
No, I think that's another thing entirely. That's left to you. Because if you look at Section 15 of the proposed legislation, it says...
I've not seen the bill for the
That's why I said I can explain, because I have some insight. It says, any person who, under the guise of spiritual or traditional practice, including but not limited to the practices commonly referred to as okite, SNYE, or any other mystical or ritual name form, administers or causes to be administered any charm, substance, or object on or for another person for the purpose of, 1, invincibility and other forms of protection to facilitate the commission of any criminal offense. So it's tied to the commission of criminal.
So this is
another one.
No, because sorry, let's take a step back. So this is a trick.
Yeah.
So the law is saying there's nothing wrong with bulletproof charm. That is what that law you just read said. There's nothing wrong with bulletproof charm. But if you now give bulletproof charm to an armed robber
to commit a crime,
this is going to be interesting.
It will be. But that's not all. Bukola, you want to take the rest?
Yes, there's another one. Any person who falsely claims to possess supernatural powers or misleads the public into believing so for the purpose of gaining reward or influence, whether financially or otherwise, commits an offense and shall be liable on conviction to imprisonment for a term of 3 years or a fine of not less than 3 million naira. You know, as we say, wisdom is known by her children. So the law is not particularly frowning on the use of supernatural powers or African traditional religion in itself, but the negative outcomes of it. And, you know, to put this in proper context, this is coming right after the arrest by the Nigerian Immigration Service, by the way, of the suspected ritualist Levi Obieze, who was handed over to the Lagos Police Command because he was fleeing Enugu State and he was nabbed on the border to Benin Republic, Badagry area to be precise. And we know that in his shrine, so to speak, decomposing bodies were discovered, and he's also being fingered for the kidnapping of a 13-year-old girl who was, by the way, rescued not too long ago. So perhaps it's the outcomes of this that the state government is trying to regulate. And we also know that we have a problem on our hands as far as, you know, ritualist is concerned, the use of their powers, so to speak, to multiply or get people to become wealthy. Those are the real issues behind this. But the relative part of it, well, Jeffrey, you are the one that has the insights.
I agree that something should be done about excesses, but the language, because I don't know what the judge is going to do about this. When
Let's try it first.
Falsely claims to possess any person who falsely claims to possess supernatural powers. So who is the arbiter? Who is going to decide that the person
is simple? You can prove these things. You say you can disappear, right? All right, disappear. If you can't, that's a lie. You say you have bulletproof. All right, no problem.
We'll shoot you.
Are you okay? Do you want us to try it? If it doesn't work, maybe just try the leg. I'm not calling for violence, but just to prove these things. And if it doesn't work, that's proof enough. So I think it's something we should explore. Certainly, but
it's going to be tough in court. It's going to be very tough.
Somebody I know always says that we all have witchcraft powers, or the powers of the metaphysical, so to speak. Even the Caucasians, the Western world, that we aspire to be like, and we always quote their technological advancement. The person I know says they have the witchcraft powers as well, but the black power is used for negative purposes. So perhaps we should call for good.
We have to.
We have a lot of problems.
I think we need to bring the authorities in Enugu State to come and explain.
And then bring representatives.
Yes, because at the end of the day, to be very fair, because I'm talking about law, constitution, ground norm. I'm a Christian. I love my faith. But if it's the law that respects everybody at that sense, as much as they know what they are doing and they want to achieve something, just the example you gave. It's not every time the pastor is in the anointing zone to heal the sick.
Well, Jeffrey, this is a conversation to have.
Let's call on the Wines to deploy their powers to solve problems of insecurity, for instance. And you know whether the state governments at that level would not get an interest.
Let us know what you think. Obviously, this is a thorny issue. Let us know what you think. Our emails is a good there, and our WhatsApp message. Is this a way to go, particularly because we've seen a lot of nefarious activities being committed under the guise of herbalist, Izawai, and the rest. But away from Nigeria, another issue that has been causing quite a stir is this, would I call it love lost? Well, it's hard to tell, really, between billionaire, the richest man in the world, by the way, Elon Musk, and President Donald Trump of America. So Elon Musk put out this tweet, And it got a lot of people curious. Yes, he's been talking about his experience at Doge and how, you know, when you get into government, you begin to see things and it shocks you. So he's referring to this bill, which, by the way, President Donald Trump calls a beautiful bill. But this particular bill, the tax and spending bill, has come under intense scrutiny by Elon Musk. The Congress has passed it, but at the Senate, it has hit a brick wall. So Elon Musk put out this tweet saying, "I'm sorry, but I can't stand it anymore." The massive, outrageous, and
pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Heavy words there.
So when he says pork-filled, and this is part of the points. First, it's okay to disagree. I think some people take friendship or political alliances too far. So when you see something wrong, you don't speak. You just hush. No. If you think it is wrong, you can absolutely speak. Because the president has said time and again that there's no issue between him and Elon Musk. But he saw this bill and he thinks it doesn't make sense, particularly because of the money that we try to cut at Doge. It doesn't make sense to now pour this money again and waste it and increase our budget spending. But you see that pork-filled and debt as well. You see the pork-filled part would interest some people. He's not talking about pork, actually. So pork in the U.S. is another term used for constituency projects in that sense. The lawmakers also have projects in their constituencies.
So it's not in Nigeria. So
it's not only in Nigeria. So that's what he's referring to with the pork-filled statement.
There's a background to this. You know, just days ago, he resigned from the Trump administration, and that got a lot of people talking because it was a key part of the campaign ahead of Trump's comeback to the White House. And he was, you know, appointed to be a part of the efficiency, in terms of financial expenditure of the administration, and he led staff cuts. So the fallout started prior to this time, and what impact this will have on the administration. You know President Trump for who he is. I doubt very much that he will be missed in that sense. President Trump goes ahead to execute his plan, and he says what he promises to do, even from references to his last time as president of the United States of America. But it's clearly it's ongoing, and we'll see how it turns out.
The thing I want to say with this issue is the lesson that everybody who is a politician in Nigeria should learn. Sometimes it's not because you're the person's enemy. It's just that if you see something really bad, in your view, speak out your mind. It's not just because Elon Musk is rich. He's talking about this tax cuts and all of this debt ceiling that will be broken and more debts. I think I've forgotten the figure. But it just felt like all the work we came to do in Doge, are we reversing? Where are we going to in the long term with all of this? But Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America, the most powerful nation in the world. He has his hands full. He knows for him what he's doing. But that doesn't stop people like Elon Musk to say, I don't think this is why we brought you in here. And I'm not going to shy away from telling you the truth. So I'm saying that some of the sycophancy we see in our polity here, there's nothing wrong. It doesn't make you the enemy of the governor or the enemy of the president as a party man. Because Nigeria's definition of party man is whether the person is doing nonsense. I'm a party man, I'll defend the nonsense. No, it doesn't work like that. You're not a patriot for doing that. So do your best to stand up and defend the people of Nigeria, but you also you have your allegiance to the person in power. That's the best way.
Jeffrey, it also shows the beauty of democracy, really, and the integrity of an individual, to resign honorable from a government that they have disagreed with. But that is not what we see in these parts. It is very rare, for a professional to see something wrong in government and then, choose the honorable path by exiting the administration.
I like that. I like that Bukola's bit. I just remember that if he's Nigeria, the guy will be thinking of his business. What if they come after my business?
But we've seen ministers resign in Nigeria. I recall a certain minister of finance.
There's only one I remember that resigned.
Yes.
No, I remember Minister of Power.
Yeah, Minister of Finance also resigned.
Who was that?
But what we're saying is that it is the exception rather than the rule in these parts.
Yes. We've seen a lot of people resign. We've seen people get appointment and they say, I'm sorry, I can't take it, or work in it for a while and resign as well, but not as much, certainly. So something to chew on. Right? Something to chew on. We just wanted to give you a sense of some of the happenings, the trending issues across board. The budget deficit, yes, 2.5 trillion. That's what this will push it to. Dollars, by the way. We'll take a quick break.
That's a dream come true. That's like almost a GDP, close to the GDP of Africa.
We'll take a quick break now. And when we return, we'll be speaking to the issues in Rivers State. Don't forget, you can be a part of the show as well on WhatsApp and via email. The state of emergency in Rivers State, about 3 months now. How far so far? Is it safe to have the governor return, or should we continue on this trail? We'll find out in a moment. Stay with us.